Your team does not need more motivation. They need you to stop being unclear. That is the part many founders do not want to hear. You can post inspiring quotes, you can run team meetings, you can talk about culture, you can remind everyone about the vision. But if your decisions are unclear, your business will still slow down because confusion always creates attacks on time, attacks on energy, attacks on trust, attacks on execution. And in August, that tax becomes more expensive. This is move 4 in the August Chimen Business Strategy Series, Leadership Clarity. And if you ignore this move, do not be surprised when your team starts hesitating, your clients start doubting, and your business starts losing speed. August is not a month for vague leadership. Monkey Month strategy and autumn metal energy reward sharper thinking, cleaner decisions, more direct communication, better standards, stronger judgment. And if you are a founder, this matters because your team takes its emotional signal from you. When you are clear, people move faster. When you are confused, people wait. When you are unstable, people second guess. When you keep changing direction, people stop trusting the direction. Most founders think their team is slow. Sometimes the team is not slow. Sometimes the founder is unclear. That is a painful distinction, but it is a useful one. Machlot, here is what weak leadership looks like in business. You say yes too quickly, then regret it. You change the strategy every few weeks, then call the team resistant. You avoid hard conversations, then complain people are not accountable. You keep weak clients, then wonder why the team feels drained. You give unclear instructions, then feel disappointed when the outcome is wrong. You want people to think like owners, but you do not give them enough clarity to make proper decisions. That is not delegation. That is confusion outsourcing. And it is one of the fastest ways to create founder burnout. Mitach, in period 9 business strategy, leadership is not about being louder. It is about being easier to trust. People trust clarity. They trust clean direction. They trust consistent standards. They trust leaders who can separate noise from signal. They trust leaders who do not panic every time the market shifts. And this is where many founders lose the room. They do not lose the room because they lack talent. They lose the room because nobody can tell what matters anymore. Everything is urgent. Everything is important. Everything needs to be done now. Every idea becomes a priority. Every problem becomes a fire. And after a while, the team stops listening. Not because they are bad people, because the founder has trained them that priorities are temporary. That is expensive. Mitach, this is why Chiman Dunjia is useful for founders. Chiman for business owners is not about becoming mystical. It is about becoming precise. What is the real issue? What is the right action? What is the timing? What should be advanced? What should be paused? What should be cut? What should be protected? What should not be forced? This is strategic execution. And strategic execution begins with leadership clarity. Because if the founder cannot decide, the business cannot move cleanly. So let me make this painful. If your team keeps asking the same questions, you may not have a team problem. You may have a clarity problem. If your clients keep misunderstanding your offer, you may not have a client problem. You may have a positioning problem. If your staff keeps missing standards, you may not have a performance problem. You may have a leadership standard problem. If your business keeps reacting to small disruptions, you may not have a market problem. You may have a decision-making problem. And if you keep blaming everyone else, then the business has an even bigger problem. It has a founder who cannot see the mirror. That one is not pleasant. But useful things rarely arrive wrapped in compliments. Votai August is the month to stop hiding behind complexity. Many founders make things complicated because complexity gives them somewhere to hide. Complicated strategy, complicated funnels, complicated offers, complicated team structures, complicated excuses. But clarity is brutal. Clarity asks, what are we really trying to achieve? What matters this month? What must stop? Who owns the outcome? What is the standard? What is the deadline? What happens if the standard is not met? Most founders avoid these questions because the answers force them to lead. Not talk about leadership. Lead. There is a difference. What I hear is the founder decision-making reset for August. Choose one main business priority. Not 5, not 10, 1. If everything matters, nothing matters. Then define the outcome clearly, not increase sales. That is vague. Say how much, from which offer, from which market, by when, with what resources. Then define what must stop. This is where most founders fail. They add new priorities without removing old ones. So the team becomes overloaded. Execution quality drops. The founder gets frustrated. Then everyone pretends the problem is productivity. No, the problem is leadership clutter. And leadership clutter is one of the silent killers of business growth timing. You must also clean up your standards. If you tolerate late work, that becomes the standard. If you tolerate vague reporting, that becomes the standard. If you tolerate weak clients abusing your team, that becomes the standard. If you tolerate people ignoring deadlines, that becomes the standard. Your business does not follow what you say, it follows what you allow. That sentence alone can explain half the chaos inside many small businesses. The founder says they want excellence, but they reward survival behavior. The founder says they want accountability, but they keep rescuing people from consequences. The founder says they want growth, but they avoid the hard decisions that growth requires. This is why leadership clarity matters. Not because it sounds nice, because without it, the business becomes soft where it needs to be strong. So, this is also where founder burnout starts, not from working hard, from carrying unresolved decisions. Every unclear role, every weak boundary, every tolerated problem, every avoided conversation, every half-made decision, every project nobody has killed. All of it sits inside the founder's mind like unpaid rent. And eventually, the founder feels heavy. Not because the business is too big, because the business is too messy. August is asking you to clean the mess, not by working more, by deciding better. Khata, this is why your Telegram community matters. Because most founders are surrounded by people who either flatter them or confuse them. Very few people tell founders the truth early enough. In my Telegram chat, I talk about timing, business strategy, Chi-Men, period 9, leadership, decision-making, and the uncomfortable moves founders need to see before the damage becomes obvious. If you are serious about leading better this August, join the Telegram chat. Do not wait until the business forces you to pay attention. By then, the cost is usually higher. Khata, here is the key move. Before the month ends, call a leadership reset. Not a motivational meeting, a reset. Tell your team what matters this month. Tell them what no longer matters. Tell them what the standard is. Tell them where the business is going. Tell them what decisions have been made. Tell them what will no longer be tolerated. And most importantly, follow through. Because a founder who speaks clearly but does not act consistently becomes noise. And once your team classifies you as noise, rebuilding trust becomes much harder. This is your warning. In August, unclear founders will lose time. Weak founders will lose leverage. Emotional founders will lose trust. Scattered founders will lose execution speed. But clear founders will gain advantage. Because while everyone else is reacting, they are deciding. That is the difference. The market does not reward the founder with the most ideas. It rewards the founder who can make the right move at the right time and carry people through it. That is leadership clarity. That is strategic execution. That is Chi-Men for founders. Subscribe if you want more Chi-Men Dunjia, August Chi-Men forecast, leadership clarity, founder decision-making, Chinese metaphysics business strategy, period 9 business strategy, business timing, strategic execution, and practical Chi-Men applications for business owners. Join my Telegram chat if you want the sharper daily conversations around business timing, founder decisions, Chi-Men strategy, and the moves most business owners only realize too late. And if you want to know which August move applies to your business, your timing, and your chart, book a private Chi-Men consultation. Because unclear leadership is not harmless. It costs trust, it costs speed, it costs opportunities. And once people stop trusting your direction, getting them to follow again